All right. Let me make sure the stream is live. And yes, we are. Good stuff. All right, everybody. Oh, I don't see anything there. Oh, we're good. All right, guys. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to the stream. Thanks again for being here. Thanks for supporting. I appreciate you. Um, even if there's nobody here on the streams, that it's all okay. You got to start somewhere before you end up where you want to go. And as a person on this mystical spiritual journey, looking to lift people out of their state of demise and darkness and help others to become warriors, spiritual warriors, impeccable warriors, I have to be an example myself. So I am on that mission, and we're going to succeed. Today we're going to be continuing the golden verses of Pythagoras. I believe we left off at verse 3, verses 4, sorry, verse 4. Yeah, I think this is where we left off, because this was a long verse to read, and we'll probably do one verse again today. Also want to make you guys aware that I am working on something for the community. I'm working on a place for you to come, for us to intermingle, share ideas, help each other, and just ultimately grow to be the best that we can be and have the best experience in this life. Ultimately, that's why we're all here. We all came here with a purpose, with a mission. And society and this system has thrown us off course. So, we got to get back on course, and I hope to help you do so. This is my mission. I was thrown off course years ago, and finally stepped into the light and accept my duty as a being of light who came here with a mission and a purpose. And so, in order for the world to be a better place, we all have to get back on track. And so I hope to help as many people get back on track and walking in the light in which they're supposed to. Please like, subscribe, share the channel, hit the notification bell. We appreciate it. The only way we're going to reach others and bring them into the light is by growing the channel. So if you find value in this, please like, share, subscribe. You know how the YouTube vibes work. Appreciate it. Nevertheless, let's digress and let's jump on into verse 4. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. All right. Purification. Verse 4 is regarding purification, cleansing yourself and raising your vibration. And it starts off by saying, be a good son, a just brother, a spouse tender, and a good father. There is so much power in that, in just that one line. There's just so much power and so much meaning in it that, if any person, anybody, man, woman, it doesn't matter who you are, if you apply these simple ideologies that are presented here to us, if you apply these simple things into your life, it would have a profound effect on the people you impact, how people see you, and the way in which you live your life, right? Something as simple as be a good son. You don't need to say more than that to your child. You shouldn't have to say more than that to your child, right? Obviously, explaining and helping them to grow and be a good son will be needed, but you shouldn't need to say more than that to your child. Be a good son, a just brother. A just brother to not only your siblings, but a just brother to those in public, those in society, right? Be just, be kind, okay? Be just as in stand on truth, okay? Don't sit back and let injustice happen, or see injustice and say nothing, right? Or don't perform unjust things to others. It's not right, right? Be a spouse tender to your partner, tender to those that you care about, your wives, your husbands. Be a spouse tender. Cater to them. It's okay to cater to your spouse, right? Because they're your other half. They are your soul tie, or whatever terminology you want to use for it, right? You need to be a spouse tender and tender to your spouse, not to your boys or to your girls or your homies. You got to tender to your spouse. When you and your spouse have a problem, don't run to them and tell them the issue unless they are just people themselves and they can give you correct information rather than information that will cause you more strife in your relationship, right? And if you can't tender to your spouse, you should not be with that person. There should always be a symmetry between you and your spouse, right? Because everything in nature is has this beautiful dance that is happening all the time, right? And so just like nature, our relationships should have this beautiful dance happening between man and woman, or whatever you want to call it, right? And be a good father. You got to be a good parent. You got to be a good parent. And in order to be a good parent, you have to be a good son. You see how this verse goes full circle? It goes full circle and it encompasses the entire family in terms of creating the family and expanding that family. It goes full circle, right? So simple verses like this has so much power and meaning in it. Just apply them in your life and it will make a difference. All right? So let's get into the explanation by the author of this book of this beautiful verse. The aim of the doctrine of Pythagoras was to enlighten men, to purify them of their vices, to deliver them from their errors, and to restore them to virtue and truth. And after having caused them to pass through all the degrees of understanding and intelligence, to render them unto the immortal gods. How beautiful! How beautiful! Pass through all the degrees of understanding and intelligence to render them unto the immortal gods. This philosopher had, for this purpose, divided his doctrine into two parts: the purgative part and the unitive part. The purgative part and the unitive part. Let's see what the author has to say before I give my 2 cents. Through the first, which is the purgative, man become purified of his uncleanliness, emerged from the darkness of ignorance, and attained to virtue. Through the second, he used his acquired virtue to become united to the divinity through whose means he arrived at perfection. Wow, how beautiful is that? That's amazing. I don't need to explain anything. If that doesn't make sense to you, DM me and we can have a further discussion. But that is self-explanatory. It does not need any more words. So let's digress. These two parts are found quite distinct in the golden verses. Heracles, who has cleverly grasped them, speaks of it in the beginning of his commentaries and designates them by two words, which contain, he said, all the doctrine of Pythagoras, purification and perfection. I mean, that's the idea of life, right? We live in such a world of disdain, an impure world, a world in which all the wrong things are promoted. So, in order for you to be a different being or to become a better person, you must purify yourself of those things that make you unclean. Purify yourself. And the only way to become perfect, you must first be pure. And once you become entirely pure, you become perfect in your being, Christ-like, a reflection of the divine, a reflection of God himself. All right? The Magians and the Chaldeans, all of whose principles Pythagoras had adopted, were agreed on this point, and in order to express their idea, made use of a parabolical phrase very celebrated among them. We consume, they said, the refuse of matter by the fire of divine love. An anonymous author who has written an history of Pythagoras, preserved by Photius, said that the disciples of this great man taught one perfects oneself in three ways: in communing with the gods, in doing good, in imitation of the gods, and in departing from this life to rejoin the gods. Let's read that again. So this anonymous author who has written an history of Pythagoras, preserved by Photius, said that the disciples of this great man taught that one perfects oneself in three ways. Number one, in communing with the gods, in doing good, in imitation of the gods. One, in communing with the gods. That's hanging out with the gods, meditating on godlike things and thought processes and mindfulness. In doing good, in imitation of the gods. That's doing good in your life, doing good for others, and helping others to see the light and to be their best self, and departing from this life to rejoin the gods. So if you walk through this life in a divine state of being, where else will you go? Like knows like. If you are an evil person after this realm, you're going to hang out with evil people, right? That is the only hell there is. That is the only hell there is. There is no actual place in hell where people will burn. But you will always be attracted to that which you are. There's always a pull. It's pulling you and you're pulling it, right? To whatever you are. If you're a good person, you're going to pull good things into your life. Even if you're a good person, bad things are going to come into your life in order for you to make it good, because you're a healer, you're a transmuter, you're a person that is gifted with the divine light to help someone else, right? So you got to understand your purpose of being, because we, the ones that are awakened, the ones that are online, the ones that are looking to purify themselves and raise to the highest state of being, we are the reflection of God. And it's our job, when we see darkness, we bring our light to clear away the uncleanliness from people. That, of course, that's if they want it. You cannot force anything on anyone, right? When you turn on the light, all cockroaches scatter. So bring your light wherever you go. And in communion with the gods, in doing good in imitation of the gods, and departing from this life to rejoin with the gods. The first of these ways is contained in the first 3 lines of the golden verses, which concern the cult rendered. According to the law and according to the faith, to the gods, to the glorified heroes, and to the spirits. The second, that is the purification. Wait, I might have skipped something here. Okay, let's go back. And departing from this life to rejoin with the gods. The first of these ways is contained in the first 3 lines of the golden verses, which concerning the cult rendered, according to the law and according to the faith, to the gods, to the glorified heroes, and to the spirits. The second, that is the purification, begins at the 4th line, which makes the subject of this examination. The third, that is the union with the divinity, or perfection, begins at the 40th line of my translation. Okay, let us digress. Let us not sleep, close thine tired eyes. Is, you can just say never. If we're going to bring it up to modern English, you can just say never. Sleep, let not sleep ever close thy tired eyes. Thus, the divination that I have believed ought to be made of this short poem is not at all arbitrary, as one sees the judicious Bailey had remarked it before me. It is worthy of observation that Pythagoras begins the purgative part of his doctrine by commending the observance of natural duties, and that he places in the rank of primary virtues filial piety. Filial piety. Just so we have a proper understanding, let us look that up. Make sure we get it. Filial. Defined. Filial. That's right. Filial piety, or relating to or befitting a son or daughter. Filial piety. Respect owed to one's parents and ancestors. Let's see what Cambridge has to say about the idea that parents, grandparents, and older people should be treated with honor and respect. I like that definition of filial piety. Okay. Observance of natural duties, and that he places in the rank of primary virtues filial piety, paternal and conjugal love. Thus, this admirable philosopher made it his first care to strengthen the ties of blood and make them cherished and sacred. He exhorts respect to children, tenderness to parents, and union to all the members of the family. He follows thus the profound sentiment which nature inspires in all sentient beings. Correct. Only in sentient beings. Those of us who can understand this are animals, they're beasts. Very different in this from certain legislators, blinded by false politics, who, in order to conduct men to I know not what power and what imaginary welfare, have wished on the contrary to break those ties, assimilate those relationships of father, son, and brother, to concentrate, they said, upon a being of reason called country, the affection that the soul divides among those objects of its first love. So it's what he's saying here is like people attach themselves to their country as a first love, right? People are in love with their country. People are very patriotic. We see it in America. We see it all over the world. People are very patriotic about their country. And this is one of the tools that the system uses against us. And it's funny because the author is going to get into that even more as we digress. So let's just go through this. If the legislators had cared to reflect a moment, they would have seen that there exists no country for the one who had no father, and that the respect and love that a man in his virile age feels for the place of his birth holds its principle and receives its force from those same sentiments that he felt in his infancy for his mother. Every effect proclaims a cause. Every edifice rests upon a foundation. The real cause of love of country is maternal love. The sole foundation of the social edifice are paternal power and filial respect. From this sole power issues that of the prince, who, in every well organized state, being considered as father of the people, has right to the obedience and respect of his children. I'm going to make here a singular comparison, which I beg the reader to observe. Give me 1 second here, folks. All right, let's digress. Moses instructed in the same school as Pythagoras. Moses was instructed in the same school as Pythagoras. After having announced the unity of God in the famous Decalogue, which contains a summary of his law, and having commanded its adoration to his people, announces for the first virtue filial piety. Honor, he said, thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be multiplied in this country of Adam, that Joah, thy gods, have given thee. Joah is another word for Jehovah. I'm pretty sure Jehovah came from this word, Joah. So honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be multiplied in this country of Adam, that Joah, thy gods, have given thee. He said gods. He never said a single god either. So just keep that in mind. All right. The theocratic legislator of the Hebrews, in making this commandment, places recompense by the side of precepts. He declares formally that he exercise of filial piety draws with it a long existence. Now, it must be remarked that Moses, being content with enclosing in his doctrine the sole purgative part, doubtless judging his people not in condition to support the unitive part, spoke to them nowhere of the immortality which is its consequence. Contenting himself with promising the joys of temporal blessings, among which he carefully placed in the first rank a long life. Experience has proved. So let me just make a note here, or just a statement. So basically, Moses didn't really tell his people about the afterlife. He basically mainly only focused on the now and the temporal, just because the consequence of living a good life now is dwelling with the gods after, right? So I believe, or what I'm getting is that Moses didn't need to really further elaborate on the consequence of a good life, because it's inevitably they will receive it, but they must be able to have a good life now and to focus their mind on a good life now. I'm not sure if you ever seen that movie with Moses when he, that old Christian movie with Moses when he went up into the mountain and then he came back and the people are worshiping the cows. That's kind of what's coming to mind right now. And so what I'm getting is that Moses didn't want to confuse them, but more so he wanted them to just learn how to live a good life now, and they will reap the benefits and the consequence of living a good life, which is dwelling with the immortal gods later. Experiences proved relative to people in general that Moses spoke with a profound understanding of the causes which prolong the duration of empires. Ah, basically what he's saying here. Moses spoke with a profound understanding of the causes which prolong the duration of empires. Yeah, it's important to honor thy father and mother, and that trickles up into the whole country, right? Um, let's carry on because he does a great explanation here, and then I'll give my point of view. Filial piety is the national virtue of the Chinese. That is correct. The Chinese will always do whatever they can to honor their mother and their father. Uh, the sacred foundation upon which reposes the social edifice of the greatest and the most ancient people of the world. I don't I don't agree with. I don't believe Chinese are the most ancient people of the world. Or maybe I'm misinterpreting what he's saying here. Let go of the ego, Chris, and let's reread this. Filial piety is the national virtue of the Chinese, the sacred foundation upon which reposes the social edifice of the greatest and the most ancient people of the world. All right. This virtue has been to China for more than 4,000 years. What love of country was to Sparta or to Rome? Sparta and Rome have fallen notwithstanding the sort of fanaticism with which their children were animated, and the Chinese Empire which existed 2,000 years before their foundation, still exists 2,000 years after their downfall. If China has been able to preserve herself in the midst of the flux and reflux of 1,000 revolutions, to save herself from her own wrecks, to triumph over her own defects, and to subjugate even her conquerors, she owes it to this virtue, which, raising itself from the humblest citizen to the sun of heaven, and seated upon the imperial throne, animates all the hearts with a sacred fire of which nature herself provides the nourishment and eternalizes the duration. The emperor is the father of the state. 200 million men who regard themselves as children compose his immense family. What human effort could overthrow this colossus? I gotta read that last sentence again because that's so powerful. The emperor is the father of the state. 200 million men who regard themselves as his children compose his immense family. What human effort could overthrow this colossus? That is so beautiful and powerful, because the truth is, like, when we look at society today, we can see the system destroying people from, they start with the family. They start to rearrange the definition of the family. Then they start to rearrange the roles that everybody play in the family, whether it's the children having to listen to the parents, or the woman redefining her role, the man redefining his role, and society is redefining the role of every single individual within our society to the point that everybody's confused. And what the author here is referencing is that in order to destroy society, you have to start with the family. That is why the Chinese were able to maintain their kingdom so long, because till this day, the Chinese hold reverence to their parents. And so, if you ask the children to do something that they're not supposed to do, the first thing they're going to say is that it would bring great dishonor to my family. And so I will not do something like that. And so what the author is trying to emphasize is that the reason why China is still so strong today is because they hold that virtue of family. And that virtue of family not only applies to your immediate family, but it spreads across to the whole country. And so everybody holds the emperor as the father of the country. And so respect is given. And because that respect is given to the emperor, there's an order within society, and there's an order within the system of those people, which I don't know what the life of a Chinese person is like. I've never lived there, never really, asked much Chinese people about their experience there. But I understand what the author is saying, because when I look in society today, I can see that the destruction of society starts from within the family. And if the family is broken apart, then all society will begin to fall apart. Children don't even know their identities today. Anyways, we move on to verses 5, and I think for today I'm going to leave with verse 4. This series may go on for quite some time, and if you're enjoying it, let's continue. I'm you know I'm I don't want to say I'm committing to it 100%, but that's what I'm doing so far, because something else of if I'm not getting views and action on these videos, something else might pull me to do so. Because, like I said, I got to build this community, and I have to find more like-minded people like you. And the only way to do that is to do things to grab your attention. And then maybe later on, I'll come back to something like this. But nevertheless, we're doing it right now, so let's just go with it. And like I said, tomorrow we'll continue from verse 5. So today, the biggest takeaway is that verse 4. Let's go back and let's reread that, because that's my biggest takeaway. Be a good son, a just brother, a spouse tender, and a good father. That's my biggest takeaway. And if you apply those in your life, most of your problems will be eradicated in terms of your family structure. I hope this video brought value to you. Please like, subscribe, share the channel. You know how this thing works. And I appreciate you. And until tomorrow, peace out. And thanks for stopping by. Oh, leave your comments below. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you have any suggestions, please leave them and I will address them. I'll be sure to respond to everybody. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Later.